Yes, we're back, we're back. It's 2 minutes after 11 o'clock, 2 minutes after 11 o'clock. And as I said before, we have in the studio us Honorable Daniel Cummings and Major the Honorable Sinclair Leacock. Let me say good morning, gentlemen. As usual, welcome to the Newtimes program on a Wednesday.
Good morning to you, Bert, and good morning, Major. Morning, SVG, and all of you who listen to this program, wherever you are. In particular, let me say good morning to all of the people of West Kingstown. I have not been on the program last Wednesday because I was a bit under the weather, and I thank you, Major, for filling in and doing a marvelous job, as we have become known as the tag team in the Kingstown constituency, together with East Kingstown. But I want, first of all, to address a few matters relating to the constituency, and in particular to some of the people of the constituency. The Major and I, together with the Honorable Dr. Friday and a number of past parliamentarians, attended a funeral at the Methodist Church on Monday in the sending home of a very distinguished lady, Miss Ada Reddock. It was so pleasing to see such a large turnout. The church was, in fact, overflowing. She was, of course, from the Gospel Hall, but the Gospel Hall in Kingstown would never be able to accommodate that kind of a crowd, and the Methodist Church quite graciously allowed them to use that facility, and it was a tremendous send-off. I want to again express condolences to the family. It's good to see those from near and far come in and join in with all St. Vincent and the Grenadines in saying a very special and fun farewell to a tremendous lady whose contribution to society is well recognized. On a lighter note, for me personally in West Kingstown, this weekend has been a very, very, very pleasing one. A number of persons have had their birthdays around this time, but there's one young lady in particular who brought such cheer. I speak of Olive Comas, who celebrated her 100th birthday. And as I said to many people, here's a lady who, when you first meet her, you will never believe she's 100 years old. Her mind is as sharp as a tack, and she is witty. She's still in very good health. Is a lady who can thread a needle, although her eyes are giving her some little difficulties. She doesn't wear glasses. I mean, I was showing her some of the photographs I took at one of the functions, and it was fairly dark, you know, but she can identify all the people from my phone, not a big photograph, all the people in that photograph. You know, that is a remarkable feat, and you know, and of course she is the kind of person who has always been eating the natural foods, as she would tell you, the breadfruit, the ground provision, and the fish. She loves her fish, and of course that comes with coconut dumpling. But a very charming lady. The Governor General spent several hours with her, both on Saturday, and I thank the Anglican Church. They had a church service at a home at 3 p.m. on Saturday the 19th. And the Governor General, I was a little bit late, but he attended because of other commitment, but he spent some time with her following that service. And on Sunday, one of her sons put on a special gala for her at his preschool there in Camden Park, and the Governor General again spent the better part of 5 hours with her down at Camden Park. it became known that she is obviously related to the Governor General and to OT mayors, and all of them were very much present and participating with so many people, hundreds of people from all over, who wanted to be with her and to express their love for her. And of course, some of you may have seen a video that was done by Ashford, what's his name, the freelance photographer, who went with me on what is the official birth date. the records of the registry show that she was born on the 22nd. Peters, Ashford Peters, yes, freelance photographer and newscaster. She was born according to the records on the 22nd, which was Tuesday gone, yesterday. But she insists that her mother told her she was born on the 19th, and for all the records we could have, her birthday is the 19th of January, and that is why the big church celebration was on the 19th, and the son joined in following on the 20th, and on the 22nd we also had some meeting with her. So she had virtually 4 days of continuous celebration, and many of you would have seen the video where she has made it clear that if God spare her life, she's not going to continue with the kind of farming that she does now. She grows a lot of cabbage and pak choy and okra and peas and so on all around the always neat yard. But she says, Major, be aware she needs to go and get a license, and she is going into the marijuana business. that is her plan. No more cabbage and so on. Is
that the recipe for a long life?
Well, she'll tell you that the fish and the ground provision, but no more cabbage and all of that. She thinks that the marijuana, but you know, what is amazing is that she is aware that she needs to get a license, and she is going to send her grandson to make sure she gets that license. And oh yes, she's going.
So you're going to assist.
She even knows where she's going to get the seeds to plant. Okay. You know, but she is an amazing lady, very spirited and full of life. It's so good to share with her family and friends, some who have traveled from far, very far away to come to celebrate the special milestone with Mother Olive Comas, a marvelous woman. And you must know that her husband, who is much younger than her, continues to live with her, and of course he depends on her to help him in very many ways. And he is significantly younger than her, but she looks after him in so many ways. What a marvelous woman. But today I just want to dwell on a few general matters, but I cannot help but going back to that landmark ruling by Justice Henry as it relates to the suit brought by the Public Service Union against the Public Service Commission headed by Cecil Blazer Williams. The ruling of Justice Henry brings squarely to light what people have been alleging for very many years. We will recall when the ULP came to power, as they like to say, very many public servants were treated in a very atrocious manner. I refer to people at the level of the permanent secretary like Brenton Bailey, subsequently people like Peggy de Freitas, and many others, some of whom were unceremoniously removed from their posts and placed in offices with hardly a desk, with no assignment and no title. And we have long said that the rules do not permit for this kind of behavior. But for some reason, many of these people bore their pain and failed to pursue their rights in the court of law. And that is why rulings like the one in relation to Otto Sam, and there are many others who went before the court. Some are still pending, and some have been ruled upon and have been appealed, etc. But there's a clearly defined pattern of behavior on the part of the so-called labor government to break down the rule of law and order and give all power to one man, one single man. And I say this because I continue to say to you, our dear listeners, that I have been there and I have seen the modus operandi of Ralph E. Gonsalves as Prime Minister. He interferes in all levels of the administration, not just in the public service, but also in the statutory bodies and the companies like Finlec. I have been there and I am speaking firsthand. He wants to and attempts to direct people how they should behave, how they should function, and he is driven purely, unequivocally, by his narrow partisan political objective. I say that without the slightest doubt, without the slightest hesitation, based, as I said, on my repeated first-hand experience with Ralph Gonsalves. And I therefore place squarely at his feet the debacle that now has befallen the so-called Public Service Commission headed by Blazer Williams, because in my mind, there is absolutely no doubt who calls the shots and who is responsible for the mess that we now find ourselves in. St. Vincent and the Grenadines must be the laughingstock of the world. There's no reputable government that would allow itself to be brought to its knees by a law court in such a shameful manner. The ruling by her Lordship Justice Henry, Her Ladyship Justice Henry, points unambiguously to the breakdown of law and order. The Public Service Commission is set up not by an ordinary bill, but it is enshrined in the Constitution of the land, the highest level of law. And it sets out clearly how they are to function. And there are regulations to further concretize the procedures to allow for the highest employment body in the country to function in a way, not just to make sure that the government is able to carry out its function, which is quite important, but to make sure that the people who make up the public service have an unambiguous understanding of how they are to be recruited, trained, promoted, transferred, punished, fired, etc., etc. Clearly defined procedures. And these things were not set down for the sake of writing. They are based on what are accepted as normal procedures for functioning of proper functioning of serious bodies. Because the public service, remember, has primary responsible for the public sector investment in this country, which is where most of the money is spent. And so you have to have the right competence, You've got to have the right skills and experience, and you have to feel comfortable that if you perform well, you will be rewarded accordingly. And one also has to put this in the context of a society in which so many members of the Prime Minister's family and in-laws have been instituted and installed in key positions throughout the public service. And one always hears Papa, after the fact, come in and say, he didn't know, with a silly grin on his face, as if anybody would believe that kind of a story. When members of the clique and the clan and the cult assume all the key positions here and around the world, when they're promoted without any advertisements being made public, or in some cases the advertisements coming after the fact, how can one have any confidence that your son and daughter, in whom you've invested your time and money to be trained and develop experience here and around the world, that they will have a fair chance of utilizing that training and experience? I mean, I've seen where the son of the former speaker has now been posted to a new position in one of the regional offices, even after he has been involved in a behavior that is unbecoming somebody of the public service. You look around and see how many former ministers of government and former senators of the ULP are holding key positions, in important positions, without anybody understanding how it's happening, only seeing it after the fact. Look at the medicinal marijuana entity. Look at who has now been appointed, anointed, installed in that position. Former MP and former advisor to the Prime Minister, Dr. Gerald Thompson. It's a family clique and cult and clan. Look and see the former minister who preceded Sabota Caesar. He is chairing in the arrowroot business. Rene Betis has been chairman of INLEC like forever. Gerlin Miguel is chairman of the Water and Sewage Authority. And the list goes on. The senator who ran against Major some time ago was in housing. He probably still is there. They keep moving them all over the place. From one post to the next. And every one is a higher post. All of them have a right to fill the top positions. Whether you be the son of the Prime Minister, the wife of the son of the Prime Minister, the in-laws of the Prime Minister, or whoever, you're guaranteed that you get the best position, whether or not you're competent and have the necessary training and experience for the job, or whether or not there are others who are far better qualified than you. But you see people whose sin is that they're perceived to be non-supporters of the ruling party, working in a position 17 years onwards, not a single promotion. But what is worse, no opportunity for performance evaluation. And people are moved out from positions so that others can be moved in to fill those positions so that they retire in a higher bracket and pull down the treasury some more. Not that they have any skills or training or experience to fill the position, but the position is a higher pay grade and they will sit in it until they retire. so that their retirement package can be enhanced. And we're seeing this happening over and over and over. And that is why the ruling by Justice Henry sends a signal, in my mind, to the people of this country that we need to wake up, because this behavior is not only abhorrent, it is illegal, it is wrong, it must stop, and there must be corrective measures. And that is why the people of this country must wake up and understand what that ruling means. This is a rogue administration that's breaking all the rules, and the country is stymied because so many competent people are not permitted to perform in ways that would benefit the country. I just finally want to remind us, because when I speak like this, sometimes people think that I speak because I can speak. My friends, dear listeners, look today at the CWSA, I say again. Understand the procedures and systems that were put in place there. I spent many months as manager of that institution leading a process of job evaluation and performance evaluation that would guide that entire institution, where every job classification was looked into in a detailed way, looking at the requirements for the job, looking at the importance of the job, looking at the stress of the job, looking at how much training and experience was required, looking at the financial implications of that job, looking at how that job fits into the overall context of the entire institution, and weighing all of these factors to make sure that when you put benefits to a position, all of these things come into play, so that somebody who might not have a first degree or any university degree, but is working in a position that requires that person to think, to work hard, to be working in conditions that are taxing, that puts them at risk, whether it be financial or physical or what. That person, despite not having a degree, could be earning as much salary as someone who has a first degree and higher. That is the process of job evaluation and performance that allows the institution to move forward. So when you move up, when you do a percentage increase in salaries, everybody moves up in proportion to their weight in the institution. That's a very serious exercise, and it is useless if it is not taken on board, and if all of the top-line members of the public service are not involved in it, and the people at all levels carefully selected to participate in the exercises, then it's not going to make any sense. And that is why you have in the public service so many attempts to do this, yet they're not using it. They're not using it. And I challenge you to go back to the CWSA today and see how committed the staff of that institution are, despite the number of years that have passed. But a core number of members are still there who can pass the training and experience on to make sure the institution survives. The public service needs a change. But even more importantly, my dear listeners, this country needs a fundamental change, sweeping out the crap, getting rid of the corruption and the greed, and allowing people with proven competencies, commitment, and experience in the New Democratic Party to chart a course for the forward and positive development of this country through the empowerment, training, and enabling of all the people of this country. That, in a nutshell, is the mission of the New Democratic Party. And I leave it there today.
Thank you very much, Brother Daniel.